Every file in the Black Archive begins with a deep question, a question that seems simple at first glance, yet becomes more unsettling the longer you sit with it. Most lead outward, toward forgotten events, unexplained phenomena, lost histories buried beneath layers of certainty. This file is different, because the deeper this investigation goes, the less it pitches toward the world around us, and the more it points toward the thing listening to these words right now. Not your name, not your memories, not the identity you spent a lifetime constructing. Something deeper, something older, the silent presence behind every thought you ever had. For centuries, humanity has searched for mysteries in the sky, beneath the oceans, inside ancient ruins, and beyond the edge of known space. Yet one of the greatest mysteries has remained astonishingly close, hidden in plain sight, present in every moment, so familiar that it becomes invisible. The mind. Not merely the brain as an organ, but the experience of being, the awareness behind perception, the observer behind the eyes, the voice that listens to itself think. Most people move through life assuming they understand consciousness because they experience it constantly. But familiarity is not understanding. And when researchers began examining the foundations of awareness itself, they uncovered something deeply unsettling. The closer we look at the self, the harder it becomes defined. Before we continue, it's important to separate what is known from what is still uncertain. This investigation is not built on speculation alone. It draws from documented experiments, clinical case studies, and decades of research into how the brain processes information, forms decisions, and constructs a sense of self. Many of the findings you'll hear about are accepted observations. What they ultimately mean remains subject to ongoing debate. That distinction matters. The goal is not to convince you of a predetermined conclusion. It is to examine evidence that challenges assumptions most people rarely stop to question. Not hidden knowledge in a mystical sense, but information that often remains outside everyday conversations despite its profound implications. Because once certain facts about perception, decision-making, and self-awareness are understood, it becomes difficult to view the mind in exactly the same way again. Every path in this investigation leads back to the same unsettling conclusion. The evidence is everywhere. 1980s, neuroscientist Benjamin Libet conducted a series of experiments that appeared to reveal measurable brain activity occurring before participants reported making a conscious decision to move. Decades later, advances in brain imaging uncovered neural patterns that could sometimes predict simple choices and movements before subjects became consciously aware of making them. The implications remain fiercely debated, and the interpretation of these findings are far from settled. Yet they forced researchers to confront a profound possibility: that conscious awareness may not initiate every decision, that what we experience as choice may sometimes be the final chapter of a process already unfolding beneath the surface. Further clues emerged from studies involving split brain patients. These individuals, whose cerebral hemispheres had been surgically separated to treat severe epilepsy, offered a rare glimpse into the architecture of the mind. In certain experiments, the two hemispheres appeared to operate with access to different information. More strikingly, when one hemisphere initiated an action without the other's knowledge, the conscious mind often generated a convincing explanation anyway. Faced with missing information, the brain did not remain silent. It created a narrative, a story that felt true, a story that preserved the illusion of continuity. The evidence suggests something extraordinary. The mind may be less than a single unidentified observer and more like a system constantly interpreting itself. Then there are neurological conditions that challenge our deepest assumptions about identity. Patients with hemispatial neglect can lose awareness of entire regions of space while remaining unaware that anything is absent. Individuals with anosognosia may deny paralysis despite overwhelming physical evidence. Certain dissociative conditions can produce experiences so fragmented that the boundaries of self appear to dissolve. Each case is different, yet together they reveal a pattern that is impossible to ignore. The self we trust so completely is not always capable of accurately perceiving itself. The witness can be mistaken, the narrator can be unreliable, and the story we call me may be far more fragile than it appears. Modern neuroscience has mapped intricate networks associated with memory, attention, emotion, perception, decision making, and self reflection. Researchers can observe electrical activity, trace neural pathways, and identify regions involved in remarkably specific functions. Yet, despite these extraordinary advances, no scan has ever revealed a single location where consciousness resides. No universally accepted theory has explained how subjective experiences emerge from physical matter. No equation has fully accounted for the feeling of being. After centuries of philosophy and decades of scientific investigation, the central mystery remains. Where does awareness exist at all? Why is there an inner experience behind the machinery? Why is there something that feels like it isn't you? The deeper humanity ventures into the landscape of the mind, the more that landscape begins to resemble unexplored territory. Every discovery illuminates a new question. Every question reveals a deeper uncertainty. And every attempt to define consciousness seems to bring us face to face with the limits of our own understanding. Perhaps the greatest revelation is not that the mind contains mysteries, it is that the mind itself may be the mystery. The stranger was never hiding in the darkness. The stranger was never waiting in some distant corner of the universe. The stranger was never outside. The stranger was mind attempting to understand itself, a system capable of questioning its own existence, a process trying to observe the process that created it, a consciousness turning inward and discovering an abyss. And perhaps that's why the mystery endures, because every investigation begins within the very phenomenon it seeks to explain. Every theory, every experiment, every question, all emerge from consciousness itself. The observer cannot step outside the observation. The instrument cannot fully separate itself from what it measures. And so the final possibility remains that consciousness is not merely a problem waiting to be solved. It may be the deepest frontier humanity will ever encounter, the ultimate archive, the final unknown. Because the tool being used to investigate the mystery is the mystery. The Black Archive. Side file 2 closed.